today's video, we're diving into a real-world journey through 11 technical interviews completed in just 60 days. This isn't just another motivational story. It's a data-driven breakdown of what actually happens when you re-enter the job market as a backend engineer. We'll explore the patterns, the mistakes, and the lessons learned, all based on first-hand experience. Whether you're preparing for your own interviews or just curious about the process, this story offers practical insights you won't find in typical bounce-back posts. Let's start by setting the stage. 3 years of backend experience, a crowded job market, and a series of hard-won interviews. Entering the job market in 2026 meant facing one of the most competitive environments for backend engineers. The roles targeted were mid to senior level, positions that used to be highly hireable but have now become some of the most crowded. With over 200 applicants per role and AI-driven screening processes, every interview opportunity was hard-won. Unlike the stories of influencers who claim dozens of interviews in a month, this journey reflects the reality for most engineers. Each interview is a significant achievement, and none come easy. First interview was a mid-level backend coding round. It involved a 2-hour live coding session to implement and extend a rate limiter. The experience felt positive, the interviewer was friendly, and the task was completed cleanly. Passing this round felt like a win, but it turned out to be misleading. The coding round was the only part that directly tested skills honed over 3 years. Every subsequent round would focus on areas that hadn't been deliberately practiced. The key realization: the coding round, while familiar, mattered least at this level. Second interview was for a senior backend role and focused on system design. The prompt was to design a notification system, and the response involved drawing out technical components like load balancers, queues, and databases. Despite demonstrating strong technical knowledge, the feedback highlighted a lack of senior-level scoping. The lesson here was crucial. System design interviews aren't about nomming technologies, but about showing judgment, how you scope and sequence a complex problem. Demonstrating knowledge alone isn't enough. Interviewers are looking for evidence of decision-making and prioritization. In the third interview, the task was to discuss a real production incident. The story involved a RabbitMQ consumer silently dropping messages, leading to lost customer data. While the incident itself was strong, the narrative was lacking. It was told as a sequence of events, rather than highlighting the thought process, hypotheses, and actions taken. The interviewer wanted to understand the structure of thinking, not just the story. This round was a reminder that senior interviews require you to showcase your reasoning and decision-making, not just recount events. Fourth interview was another senior backend system design round, this time to design a URL shortener. Unfortunately, the same mistake from interview 2 was repeated, focusing on technical details without proper scoping. The feedback mirrored the previous rejection, but it took this second identical result to truly internalize the lesson. The most costly failure isn't making a mistake, it's ignoring feedback and repeating the same error. This round emphasized the importance of treating feedback as valuable data, not as a personal affront. After 4 interviews, a critical change occurred. Instead of making excuses, the approach shifted to treating interviews like incidents, logging every round, outcome, and piece of feedback. The pattern became clear: passing coding rounds but failing those that tested judgment, communication, and structure under ambiguity. The realization was that demonstrating knowledge wasn't enough. It was essential to show structured thinking and adaptability. This turning point marked the beginning of a more strategic and reflective interview preparation process. Preparation strategies were overhauled. Instead of grinding coding problems, the focus shifted to rehearsing the first 90 seconds of a design answer and structuring incident stories. Practicing out loud on a timer until the responses became second nature replaced the old habits. The new approach emphasized scoping before solving, sequencing out loud, framing choices as trade-offs, and inviting correction. This methodical preparation targeted the actual weak points, not just the familiar territory. Fifth interview was another senior backend system design round, this time to design a feed system. Instead of jumping into technical details, the approach began with 90 seconds of scoping, asking about scale, priorities, and what to skip. This change in framing made a noticeable difference. The interviewer became more engaged, and the conversation flowed better. The technical content was similar to previous attempts, but the structure and delivery made all the difference. Passing this round confirmed the effectiveness of the new strategy. The sixth interview, the same RabbitMQ incident from earlier was used, but this time it was presented with a clear structure: hypothesis, what was ruled out, actions taken to stop the issue, and changes made to prevent recurrence. The interviewer responded positively, taking notes throughout. The lesson was clear: the structure of your response is what gets evaluated, not just the content. This approach turned a previous rejection into a pass, reinforcing the value of structured communication. Seventh interview involved a take-home assignment, building a full Spring Boot service with tests, which took 12 hours. After submitting the work, there was no response, not even a rejection. This experience highlighted a harsh reality. Some companies use take-home assignments to extract free work or fill their candidate pipeline. The lesson learned was to time-box such assignments and avoid investing excessive effort when the outcome is uncertain. Protecting your time and energy is crucial in a competitive job market. The eighth interview was another senior backend system design round. Using the same structured approach, scoping, sequencing, and inviting correction, resulted in another pass. This consistency proved that the new method wasn't a fluke, it was a repeatable process. The realization was that senior-level signals aren't about charisma or innate talent, but about applying a learnable sequence. With practice, what once seemed like a personality trait became a reliable framework for success. The ninth interview introduced a new challenge, a behavioral question about disagreeing with a technical decision. Despite having prepared for system design and incident rounds, this axis was neglected. The answer lacked clarity and structure, resulting in rejection. The key takeaway was that each round type is its own filter, and excelling in one area doesn't compensate for weaknesses in another. Comprehensive preparation must address every distinct interview format. The 10th interview was a comprehensive loop, covering coding, design, and behavioral rounds. By this point, structured preparation had addressed every weak link. Coding was already strong, design had a 90-second opening, incident stories followed a 4-beat structure, and behavioral answers had clear stakes, actions, and outcomes. The result was a job offer just 4 days later. The lesson: success comes from eliminating weak rounds, not from acquiring entirely new skills. The 11th and final interview was taken after receiving an offer, partly for negotiation leverage and partly to confirm that the previous success wasn't a one-off. Applying the same structured frameworks led to another comfortable pass. By this stage, the process felt almost automatic, demonstrating how deliberate practice and reflection can transform weaknesses into strengths. The journey ended with confidence and a clear understanding of what truly matters in technical interviews. Looking back at the outcomes, pass, reject, 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 then a series of passes and an offer, the pattern becomes clear. The early failures weren't random, they were the result of repeating the same mistake and ignoring feedback. The turning point was treating rejections as data and searching for patterns instead of making excuses. The most important lesson is that the skills that matter most at the mid to senior level are judgment under ambiguity, structured communication, and adaptability. One of the biggest surprises was realizing that coding rounds, once the main focus of preparation, now matter least at the mid to senior level. With AI capable of passing these rounds, interviewers have shifted their attention to other skills. The rounds that truly decide offers are those that test judgment, communication, and the ability to defend and revise decisions. Many engineers, however, continue to prepare for the coding round, missing the real filters. Key insight from tracking interview outcomes is that strong candidates rarely start system design interviews by drawing architecture. Instead, they begin with questions. What scale are we designing for? What matters more, latency or consistency? What should we ignore? Only after narrowing the problem do they discuss technology. The architecture itself may look similar between candidates, but the thinking process sets them apart. Interviewers are evaluating your ability to navigate ambiguity and make sound decisions. The first 90 seconds of a system design interview are often more important than the next 45 minutes. This opening reveals how you scope, prioritize, reason, communicate uncertainty, and discuss trade-offs. The technical details come later, judgment comes first. Practicing this opening until it becomes automatic can dramatically improve your performance and set you apart from other candidates. Over time, practical frameworks emerged. The 90-second design opening, the 4-beat incident structure, and the stakes action outcome behavioral frame. These repeatable structures provide a reliable way to handle open-ended interview questions under pressure. They are not innate talents, but learnable skills that can be practiced and refined. Having a framework for each round type ensures you are prepared for any scenario. Many engineers fail system design interviews not because they lack technical knowledge, but because they skip the crucial step of structuring the problem before solving it. Jumping straight into drawing architecture leads to chaotic conversations and missed opportunities to demonstrate judgment. The real evaluation is about how you approach ambiguity and structure your thinking, not just your familiarity with technologies. When asked about production incidents, it's not enough to tell the story as a sequence of events. Interviewers want to see your thought process, what hypotheses you considered, what you ruled out, how you mitigated the issue, and what changes you made to prevent recurrence. Structuring your answer in this way demonstrates senior-level thinking and problem-solving skills. Behavioral interview questions, such as describing a disagreement with a technical decision, require a clear structure. State the stakes, describe your actions, and explain the outcome. Rambling or providing vague answers can quickly lead to rejection. Practicing this framework ensures your responses are concise, relevant, and impactful, showcasing your ability to handle interpersonal challenges in a professional setting. One of the most transformative shifts in mindset was learning to treat interview feedback as valuable data rather than a personal insult. By analyzing feedback objectively, patterns of weakness can be identified and addressed. This approach accelerates growth and prevents the costly mistake of repeating errors. Embracing feedback as a tool for improvement is essential for long-term success. In a market where some interviews are little more than unpaid work, it's important to protect your time and energy. Timeboxing take-home assignments and declining those that seem exploitative helps maintain focus and motivation. Recognizing when to invest effort and when to move on is a key skill for navigating the modern job search landscape. Deliberate practice transforms weaknesses into strengths. By repeatedly rehearsing the openings and structures for each interview round, what once felt challenging becomes automatic. This shift not only improves performance but also builds confidence, making each subsequent interview less daunting. The journey from repeated rejections to consistent passes is powered by focused, intentional practice. Success in technical interviews requires comprehensive preparation across all round types: coding, system design, incident response, and behavioral questions. Focusing solely on one area leaves vulnerabilities that can be exploited by the interview process. Building a robust framework for each type ensures no weak links and maximizes the chances of receiving an offer. The culmination of this journey is a practical reference for backend engineers, the Senior Engineer Interview OS. This includes the 90-second design opening, the 4-beat incident structure, and the stakes action outcome behavioral frame. These tools provide a repeatable, reliable way to navigate open-ended interview questions and demonstrate senior-level thinking under pressure. Most engineers don't fail system design interviews due to a lack of technical knowledge. The real issue is the inability to structure the conversation and navigate ambiguity. Interviewers expect candidates to ask clarifying questions, define priorities, and make trade-offs before proposing solutions. Practicing this approach can turn a common weakness into a standout strength. Effective communication is at the heart of every successful interview round. Whether explaining a design, recounting an incident, or discussing a disagreement, clear and structured communication demonstrates maturity and leadership. Practicing how to articulate your thought process and invite feedback sets you apart from candidates who rely solely on technical prowess. At the senior level, interviews are designed to test your judgment under ambiguous conditions. The ability to make decisions with incomplete information, justify your choices, and adapt to feedback is what sets top candidates apart. Practicing these skills ensures you can handle the unpredictability of real-world engineering challenges. Interviewers are keenly interested in how you handle trade-offs and prioritize competing demands. Being able to articulate the pros and cons of different approaches and explain your reasoning demonstrates a mature engineering mindset. This skill is especially important in system design and incident response rounds, where there are rarely perfect solutions. A subtle but powerful technique is to invite correction during interviews. Instead of defending every choice, openly acknowledge uncertainty and ask for feedback. This approach demonstrates humility, adaptability, and a willingness to learn, qualities highly valued in senior engineers. It also turns the interview into a collaborative discussion rather than a one-sided evaluation. Regularly reflecting on your interview experiences, logging outcomes, and analyzing feedback accelerates growth. This habit turns each interview into a learning opportunity, helping you identify patterns and adjust your preparation. Over time, reflection transforms setbacks into stepping stones toward success. With enough deliberate practice, structured responses become automatic. What once required conscious effort becomes second nature, freeing up mental bandwidth to handle unexpected questions or curveballs. This level of preparation brings confidence and composure to every interview, making even challenging rounds feel manageable. One of the most expensive mistakes is dismissing feedback and repeating the same errors. Recognizing and acting on feedback after the first or second rejection, rather than the fourth, can save time and frustration. Embracing a growth mindset and being willing to adapt are essential traits for long-term career success. It's easy to believe that only the most charismatic or innately talented engineers succeed in interviews. In reality, success is built on repeatable frameworks, structured preparation, and a willingness to learn from mistakes. Anyone can develop these skills with practice and reflection, regardless of their starting point. Tracking your interviews like incidents, logging rounds, outcomes, and feedback provides invaluable data for improvement. This analytical approach helps identify patterns, target weak spots, and measure progress over time. Treating your job search as a process to debug and optimize leads to more consistent and predictable results. The journey from repeated rejections to receiving an offer is rarely linear. It involves setbacks, reflection, and continuous improvement. By focusing on structure, communication, and adaptability, you can turn weaknesses into strengths and ultimately achieve your goals. Every rejection is an opportunity to learn and get closer to success. If you're preparing for technical interviews, focus on the rounds that actually filter candidates: system design, incident response, and behavioral questions. Track your progress, treat feedback as data, and practice structured responses until they become automatic. Avoid over-preparing for coding rounds at the expense of other crucial skills. Your preparation should reflect the realities of the current job market. Sharing real interview logs, including both successes and failures, helps demystify the process and provides valuable lessons for others. Authentic accounts of what actually happens in interviews are more useful than generic advice or motivational posts. By documenting your journey, you contribute to a culture of transparency and learning in the engineering community. The journey doesn't end with an offer. Continuous learning, reflection, and adaptation are essential for long-term career growth. Each new role brings fresh challenges and opportunities to refine your frameworks and skills. Embrace every experience as a chance to grow and stay ahead in a rapidly evolving industry. Succeed in technical interviews. Focus on structured thinking, clear communication, and adaptability. Treat feedback as data, practice frameworks for every round type, and protect your time and energy. The skills that matter most are learnable and repeatable. With deliberate practice and reflection, you can turn setbacks into stepping stones and achieve your career goals. Every interview journey is unique, but the principles of preparation, reflection, and adaptability apply to all. By learning from real experiences and focusing on what truly matters, you can navigate even the toughest job markets with confidence. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about continuous improvement and resilience. Good luck on your own interview journey. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the realities of technical interviews. Remember, the journey from rejection to offer is paved with lessons, practice, and growth. Keep tracking your progress, refining your frameworks, and supporting others along the way. The path to success is open to anyone willing to learn and adapt. Until next time, keep improving and stay curious.